Well, it's becoming synonymous with good times.
Yes,
it's the theme song for a little more or less game show.
Love it.
There it is. There it is. When you hear this, you know good times are on the horizon. And we're playing a little more or less, and we're playing with New York's football team. That would be the New York Football Giants. We're going to start with Eli Manning, David. More or less passing touchdowns, 35 in 2016.
35 is a lot.
That is a lot.
It's healthy.
Right.
It's healthy.
But he's one short of Y.A. Tittle. So he needs to go get that, throw 37, and be the all-time single lead.
Can he do it?
Yes, he can do it. Go out there, man. Do what you got to do. Sterling Shepard, Victor Cruz. You got all these guys. Odell Beckham obviously can do this. You got some good tight ends in the building. Go out there and throw you some touchdowns.
His number's getting better with
it's the best
McAdoo.
season.
You know what I mean?
Best season ever last
it's like
year, and it's only going to get better.
35 touchdowns,
better.
just 14 interceptions. So
He's 35 years old, right? He's
doesn't matter.
I like
Completely
it.
irrelevant.
He also threw 14 interceptions, also pretty good, really low, more or less in 2016.
I'm going to say less, even though it's crazy. This is talking about Eli now, because this system is perfect for what he's wanted to do his entire career. So many times before, all these interceptions were so gray area. Receivers missing routes, missing reads. Now Ben McAdoo comes in with a system that's black and white. It's what Tom Coughlin has wanted since the beginning. That's why Tom Coughlin brought Ben McAdoo in. Black and white, less interceptions. Guy's the smartest player I've ever played with. He's going to be just fine.
Well, Odell Beckham Jr., his hair, neither black or white. It's in between. It's kind of yellowish. I don't know if that would be considered blonde, but he had 96 receptions last year on his Blonde Ambition tour. So what do you say in 2016, more or less?
I say less, and not because his skills are going to diminish, but because they have more weapons. They have more weapons. They're going to spread the football around. And with more weapons, you might even get more cover two, more teams saying, you know what, I'm not going to let these guys beat us. I'm not going to let Odell and Victor and Sterling go loose and make you run the football. So that's the only reason I say less, because you only got one football. You only got one.
He also had 96 receptions and 1,450 receiving yards, more or less in 2016.
It kind of goes hand in hand. So I'm going to say less there also, just because they're going to have so many different options with the football. So it's not a shot at Odell. He's one of the best players in the league. I think he's just going to attract so much attention. It's going to be hard to not throw it to the other guys, because if you're doubling Odell, now Victor, they're going to see. Teams are going to line up and say, hey, Victor, can you beat us? Are you still the same guy? Right? Sterling, this young buck, can you come in here and actually do something? So they're going to take Odell Beckham away for the most part. Even though they tried last year, he still got 400 yards. But I think for the most part, it's going to go other places.
More or less OBJ dancing to compensate for Victor Cruz maybe not being able to party a little bit. What do you say on that?
Yeah, I'd like to see the salsa. I wish the salsa would come back. I think it would be amazing.
That's right. Now, how about defensively? The Giants last year, as we know, dead last in yards per game. They gave up 420. That number is the opposite of good. So 350 yards, that would put them right around the middle of the pack. So they give up more or less in 2016.
Well, middle of the pack, I think, would be a huge jump. You know, and Steve,
after spending $200 million,
you think you'd even go even higher. But
spend all that money to be
$200 million, it should buy you something, but it can't buy you chemistry. I think that's the
good point.
That's going to be early on. They may struggle, right? Lining up, you got some young guys in the secondary, Eli Apple, and Spags. If he can get pressure with his front four guys, then they can be a really good football team. But if he has to go back to bring in just crazy edge pressures and get into these exotic looks, you're going to blow coverages. It's just always been the case. The best defenses that he's ever had, talking about Spagnuolo, is when he can play his rush four guys, run in healthy defensive linemen, fresh guys that can rush the passer. So that's where it comes down to Olivier Vernon, JPP. Can they put pressure on the quarterback and not ask these guys to, create pressure with bringing in 6 and 7 guys?
Wow, you hear that in New York? You can't buy chemistry. How about that?
Absolutely. No, and they're hoping to increase their sack total, which they had 23 sacks in 2015. Is that going up in 2016?
I think this goes up. Yeah, I think that because obviously what you paid with Olivier Vernon and JPP is he played well. He was actually giving effort. I loved seeing JPP play last year. Maybe his numbers weren't where they were, but even when I was there, he was always a guy that had crazy potential. A really, possibly could be a really good football player at some point. But I saw effort from that guy last year. So if you can get effort off the edge, you can get snacks to push the pocket. Now you don't have anywhere to step up. You got those 2 guys coming off the edge. I think they get more sacks.
All right. Well, sacks lead to picks. Solomon Wilcots told us that last week in Big Blue. 15 interceptions last year. Not the greatest number, so more or less in 2016.
Well, I think that pressure is going to create turnovers. And it obviously, the pressure around the quarterback, he throws into bad coverage. They got some good corners out there. Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie is one of the best in the league. I think a little underrated. Eli Apple's going to come in, help Janoris Jenkins. I think these guys are all going to be phenomenal players with that pressure up front. So it all ties together. I say they're more opportunistic this year, which is something they really need on the defensive side of the ball. That can make your defense improve just there. If your numbers are similar or maybe a little bit better, but you start getting turnovers, that helps your offense so much more.
Yeah, you hope they spend all that money and the interceptions increase and don't go down, right?
Yeah, exactly.